I'm your host, Jason Tartick, and welcome to Trading Secrets. We talk all things money on this podcast, and we're teaching all the stuff we just weren't taught in the classroom. Nothing supports this show more than liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by content creator, podcast host, and Philadelphia favorite influencer, Brandon Edelman, aka Bran Flakezz. Bran gained recognition after being cast on Barstool Sports' inaugural reality TV show, Project Verified, after having initial success with his TikTok content. Since being a runner-up on the show, Bran has continued to grow his brand on social media, add the title podcast host to his resume, and increase his gross annual income by almost 20 times from when he primarily worked in retail. Today, we are going to discuss his life working in retail, how he transitioned to a full-time content creation, and how he successfully manages expenses after a drastic increase in personal income. We have so much more to cover, but Bran, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you for having me, King Jason.
What an honor, my man.
No, the honor is all mine.
It was so funny how we met. We were at Grant's premiere.
Yep.
And Bran comes over, and dude, your energy is just any room you're in, it just lights up. And you come over, I'm like, who is this bright light? And you're like, let's do this TikTok.
So it's so funny. I'd actually seen you for the first time at Rockin' New Year's Eve 2023. We did that like brunch. It was Joey's thing. And I was
right.
I used to be like really like imposter syndrome, and I didn't like to like say hi to people.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say hi to you so bad because one of the first episodes that I watched of your podcast was when you had Corporate Natalie on, and that episode helped me so much in like my career. And I wanted to fangirl so bad, and I was like, I don't want to bother him. And I just didn't say hi. So when I saw you at The Bachelor, I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity again. I'm going to say hi to him.
Well, that like actually when you said that just gave me goosebumps because like the purpose of like this podcast is to really try and help educate and impact people with what they're doing, and to see that you listen to that. And Corporate Natalie's unbelievable.
I've looked up to her in the industry since I started.
She's unbelievable, and to see your success with it is really cool.
Thank
so I
you.
appreciate that. But it was funny when you came up. I mean, actually, let's talk about this. So for everyone, I'm sure everyone knows at this point, but Bran is just crushing social media, and what's really cool about it is the growth and your transparency. So if you're sitting back home and you're trying to brand yourself, you're trying to brand your business on social media, you're wondering about just the transparency of like what creators make and what it looks like, the good, the bad, the ugly, you're going to get it in this episode. But one thing I was really impressed with was, I mean, the sound you had was hilarious. What was the sound again?
Are you a top or a bottom?
Are you a top or bottom?
Teresa Giudice, or is that Giudice, and Richard Hatch on House of Villains. And she's like very like, it was shocking to the audience that she's so well versed in LGBTQ like language. She's like, top or bottom? Do you do poppers? Like all the stuff. He was like, what?
Wait, so still to this day, I don't know what poppers are.
Okay.
What are
so
poppers?
Poppers, like, I'm not gonna like explain this like the best way. Like,
okay.
Technically, it's like what they call cleaner. It's almost like how people like sniff nail polish remover, like it, but it's not like. So basically what poppers do is they relax your muscles. So when gay people have sex up the ass, it makes you feel more relaxed. But it's become sort of like a party drug because it's basically like sniffing like nail polish remover. So like people at the gay bar, but honestly straight people have been doing it a lot too. Like they'll just pull out poppers and sniff it. It's like doing a whippet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Okay, that's a wild breakdown.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a wild thing. But its intention is to be used to relax yourself during intercourse.
Okay, well, thank you for that very professional breakdown. I love it. I was
strong.
I was like, what did I sign up for? But whatever, let's rip it. People loved it. We had a great time with it, and it was so nice to meet you. But one thing I was really impressed with is at that party, it felt as though you had some ideas.
Yeah.
You came with some sounds, and you did like 4 or 5 different videos, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of part of your strategy? Like, are you thinking about where you're going to be, how you're going to be there, what sounds would work, and then ripping it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's really on the moment where I see something and I think of something. I try to come like prepared with like 1 or 2 backup ideas, but my content really does the best when it's extremely authentic and on the nose, and right away I see something and I'm like, oop, record it. So yeah, I had a few things saved, but when I go to events like that, like I definitely want to network. Like this is Disney invites me to this. Like Disney ABC invited me. I'm like, okay, I want to make a really good impression. I want to network not just with people like you, but also with executives that work for Hulu and executives that work for The Bachelor, because that's just a great opportunity to put your hand in these people who are key stakeholders in the industry.
Interesting. Okay. So you're thinking, I'm going to make an impression. I'm going to make videos. They'll call me back. And they did have you at 2023. They had you at this. Did they call you back? Like,
yeah, they
keep in
did.
touch with them?
That's my third event that I've done with them. So the first one was actually really sick. They invited me to their Shark Tank party. That was in 2023. I got to meet Barbara. I got to meet Marc Cuban, Kevin. And then I came back. That's where I saw you at Rockin' New Year's Eve. So funny. I just saw Ryan Seacrest at the Aloe Gym in LA. And he like gave me a double take. He's like, you look really familiar. And I was like, we did Rockin' New Year's Eve together. And then the third one I did is Bachelor, which is great.
Now, how like is that? Think about what you just said. Like, it wasn't many years ago that you were working in retail, making $40,000 a year. You went on Vivian Tu's podcast, who's a great good friend of the show. She's been on the show. Her podcast, shout out Net Worth and Chill, and you talked about in 2024 grossing $768,000.
Yeah,
is that a pit? Like Ryan Seacrest says hello to you. Did you ever see this in your career?
Not even close. Like no shape or form. Just in anything. Like I was not cool in high school. I had like, a lot of really bad demons and insecurities. And I think I always wanted this life, but like constantly like told myself it would never happen. And it did. I think like for me, where the shift in my life happened was like college and kind of getting that fresh start and really finding the people that like I was always meant to be around and being in the rooms that I always was meant to be in. And that really built up this confidence in me that I took to the internet in 2021. And I don't know, I had the confidence when I started TikTok. I didn't make a video right away. I probably downloaded the app a month before I ever posted, and I watched people's videos and I was just like, I feel like I could do this. I was like, I think I'm just as funny as these people. I think I have really creative ideas on how to create. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. But I was like, I aggressively went for it. My friends were like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you like getting home from work every night and like telling us you can't hang out? I was like, because I have to record videos. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you have to record videos? I was like, no, like, I'm watching what these people say online. They say you have to post twice a day and be consistent. I was like, I'm going to do it. They say that you have to use this kind of a hook. They say that you have to like make videos in this format. And I really did follow like a lot of the templates of creators that, like, I remember, I think this guy, his name is Jackson's Tips. I hope he still exists because he's incredible.
Okay.
I would watch his videos every day and he would tell you like how to make a good TikTok, and I would watch it and his shit worked for me. And like, yeah. So did I ever see this coming? No, but I'm very happy it did. And I'm just really grateful for the whole experience.
I'm going to get into high school for a minute.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get into the hooks.
Yeah.
Because I always find it fascinating where people are today, people that we look up to, people that we follow, and what actually like, where did it stem from? What was it like?
Yeah.
And what in high school you said that you had a lot of demons.
Yeah.
When you say that, like, were you a troublemaker? Were you dealing with depression? Like,
No,
what do you think it was?
I like wanted to be really cool. Like I always like, I really like would see the kids that would like go to the parties and do, had the amazing pictures before the homecoming dances and, had these really exciting weekend plans. And I just didn't have that. I was not popular. And there was like, so like, I look back on that. And I mean, you should always look back on yourself and cringe. I think if there's no growth without cringing,
Of course.
but like, I was like person that like, if I got invited to a party or something, or like I remember one time, I'll always never forgive myself for this. One time I got invited to like a cool person's like prom pictures and my mom was there and I was like, Mom, stop. Like, you're embarrassing me. Like, ugh, like just like that kind of, who wanted to be liked so bad. And like, I look back on that and I was just like, ugh, like I wanted, it's so funny now, like a lot of the kids who, I don't want to use the word bullied, but like were not nice to me in high school.
Yeah.
I live in Philly, 30 minutes from where I went to high school. Most of my high school like counterparts all live in Philly. So many kids that would have never even gave me the time of day in class are now like up my ass.
That
which
is so funny.
Yeah.
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah. And like everyone grows up. Like everyone was an asshole in high school at some point, but like you don't forget those kind of like formative like years. And like you know that phrase by Maya Angelou, like you can forget what people said and did, but you'll never forget how they made you feel.
Yeah.
Like that rings true all the time.
It's really interesting in high school how like you wanted to be the guy and you were struggling with that and weren't, and then you now are. Like,
and it sounds so corny, Jason, but like all I had to do was be myself. And like when I was like trying to fit in,
Yeah.
I was being like and even now in like influencer circles, like there's times where I've noticed me like trying to like appease to like a big time content creator. And like, I'm like, why am I doing this? No. Like the people who value me will value me for who I am and where I am and what I'm doing. And anybody else, like if you feel like you're like have to act a certain way, that's not the type of person you should be around. And career, relationships, friendships, you want to be places where you can authentically be yourself and you're surrounded by people that like appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
Like you saying like I'm a light in a room, like that's how I want people to talk about me.
Yeah.
I don't want people to say, you know, something else about me. Like that's truly like I hold those kind of people in like high regard.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's interesting that you're talking about is just being yourself and dropping into that. I
Yeah.
had my brother on the show and we talked openly about it, maybe for like one of the first times ever, but he didn't come out until he was in college actually.
Yeah.
And he talked a little bit about like how that struggle delayed kind of him dropping into himself and
For
understanding
sure.
himself. Did you come out at an early age and did that have any impact?
I told like my first friends when I was like 13 and 14,
Yeah.
probably more 14.
Yeah.
And then I came out to my mom on my 17th birthday.
Yeah.
And then when I got to college, that's when I was like, I've told this story before. I got to college and I was like really stressed out, had a lot of put a lot of pressure on myself of like, I don't want this to be the same experience as high school. Like I really want to enjoy this. I remember this beautiful, tall, 6-foot blonde girl invited me to look at her dorm room, like how you would do on your first. Everyone's like looking at each other's rooms.
Yeah.
And she had a rainbow pride flag up. And I was like, oh, like, do you have like a gay best friend? She's like, no, I am gay. And I was like, I had total like internalized homophobia. I thought if you were a lesbian, you looked this way. If you were a gay guy, you looked this way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this like 6-foot model and she's like, no, I'm a lesbian. And I was like, after she said that, I was like, oh, I'm gay. I like instantly said, and I was like, I'm going to tell everybody I'm gay here. And it was just like, everyone loved me. And it was so funny. I went to a small school where like fashion merchandising was what I studied. And it was a big major, but we also had sports teams and the baseball team, the guys like loved me and they were all like Bran Flakezz, B Flakes. And I was like, why are these like big macho men like being so nice to me? They're like, no, we like fuck with you. Like you're cool as fuck. And I was like, wow, like I would have never experienced this in high school. Like it was just great.
That's a special story.
It's really special.
It really is a special story.
Yeah.
And I think as you're telling that, there's something that when we work with creators, I try and do with some of my content too, is that vulnerability just will equal relatability, which equals empowerment, right?
Agreed.
So she was vulnerable. She shared what she felt. You felt relatable. You felt empowered. And that helped you break out into who you are, which I think is so cool.
Thanks, Jason.
That's one of the equations we also use for like content.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about your hook. So I want to go back to
Yeah.
that. People that are listening to this, and I know there's people that want to talk and hear the dollars. Those dollars are coming. We're going to talk about it. 700 plus thousand. We're going to get in the weeds.
Yeah.
But before we do, talk to me about the structure of your videos then versus now. Do you still currently use hooks? For people that are listening to this that don't know what a hook is, what is a hook? And how do you construct your video when you think about it from like a director and producer?
Yeah. So with TikTok, which is my main platform, it's a short form platform, you really have the first 2 seconds to get people to watch. Otherwise, they're going to scroll. And with TikTok, it's all about watch time. So it's, let's say you have a video that is 15 seconds long. If people are averaging, they're watching 7 seconds of that, they're watching 50% of your video through, which is actually good.
Did not know that. So if they hit 7 seconds, they're likely to hit.
They're likely to continue to watch the whole way through.
Had no
so
idea.
How it works, which people don't talk about this, how TikTok makes money is they get advertisement dollars from massive corporations like any other business.
Sure.
Their analytics are, hey, look at the screen time of our average consumer. They're spending 2-3 hours on TikTok a day. So what is TikTok going to push on the algorithm? Videos that people are watching all the way through, because then let's say someone watches my 15-second video twice. That just became a 15-second video that someone consumed for 30 seconds. So the hook is really important because that's the first thing people are going to say, the first 1 to 3 seconds. Lock that person in. What is this video about? What are you about to see? Pique our interest here. So in the beginning, I was doing a lot of hooks where like, a lot of times I would make series centered around the hook. So my first big series was rating my nights from the weekend, where I would go through what I did on a weekend and rate each night. Friday, 7 out of 10. This is what I did. Saturday, 6 out of 10. This is what happened. And that was the hook in itself, rating my nights from this past weekend.
So the hook was, though, you were just like, here's my rating. So then people want to hear it. Like, give people examples of like actual hooks.
I would say like, the hook would be rating my nights from this past weekend, but the video would start with me green screening a crazy image of me from the weekend.
Ah.
So like maybe it's like me on someone's shoulders at a bar. I would say rating my nights from this past weekend. I remember one that went really viral. I met Young Gravy, and
I love him. He's great.
It was
buddy
just a
of mine.
picture of me and Young Gravy. So that you can also do visual hooks. Like this is it. But a lot of times now, I think because I have an established following, which is really great, my followers like just want to hear what I have to say no matter what. But I do try to kind of get people in. I do this series called Hot Girl Walking where I go on a rant as I'm walking. And there's a formula. I use the standard MLA essay format. Hook, 3 supporting points, closing argument.
Give me an example of one.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's always comes from the heart. Like first 3 seconds, I'm so sick of people who are in codependent relationships. That's the hook.
Okay, now I'm in.
Now you're in.
Been in one before.
Because exactly. And that's why I pick something that 1, I feel and can talk about, but 2, if you've been in a codependent relationship, you want to watch it.
Oh, I'm already in.
Yeah.
I'm already like,
if you have a friend that's been in a codependent relationship, you want to watch it. If you think maybe your parents are in a codependent, so it's very universal, global. So that's then I get into my 3 supporting bullet points. 1, structure the relatability, but also put your funny personality on it, which is, those couples that you genuinely think would fucking go to the bathroom together if they could. Funny, hilarious. Everyone's like, yep, nodding your head as you're listening. I know. And then you kind of I always try to do one where you almost play devil's advocate and play the other side. And then I'm like, I feel bad for them because I feel like there's something obviously missing in their life that is making them kind of lean codependent. Then hit it home. But at the same time, I miss my friend. And then you kind of close it with something like, let's all be able to do things on our own 2 feet and have, things for yourself and then things for your relationship. Quick, punchy, easy, reshareable, repostable, boom, you're in it. Mm-hmm. And it sounds, I said this on his, like, it's not being manipulative. It's strictly just being strategic. That's my personal, I hate people who are in codependent relationships. Everyone's lost a friend to a codependent relationship. A lot of us have been in codependent relationships. So it's not like I'm manufacturing this. It's just thinking about what's a feeling and experience that I have and how can I tell that experience in a way that is going to make other people feel seen and heard. And that's how you make content.
The word strategic and intentional just gets such a nasty rep, but it's just stupid.
Yeah.
You were strategic when you put your shoes in your pants on. When they painted this wall, it was strategic.
Yeah,
everything
strategic.
But it has just such a negative connotation, which is bullshit. Be strategic.
Yeah.
Think about how you can inform your people in the best way. That's going to make sense and make them want to continue to look. And then when they continue to look, they follow you. And you just hit over 1 million followers. Man, did you celebrate? When you hit 1 million followers, some people throw a balloon up there. Some people just say thank you. Brett, you were everywhere with it. And so I wanted to ask you, was there strategy in putting that out? And also, when you hit the 1 million follower mark, what does that mean to you financially and professionally? Why was it such a big celebration for you?
Yeah, I think for a lot of reasons. So when I first started off, I used to throw a party for every time I hit 100,000. So I had a 100K party, I had a 200K party, I had a 300K party, and then I stopped. But I remember one day being like, damn, I'll imagine if one day I make it to 1 million. That would be epic. The 1 million party, what that would look like. And it's funny because I actually didn't even end up, I did have a party just with my friends. And that kind of, we'll talk about why, how things have shaped me. But yeah, it's crazy. In February, just a month and a half ago, I was laying in bed with this man and he had asked me what my goals were for this year. And I said, I would love to hit 1 million followers. But at that point, this was in February, I had 736,000. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to hit that this year. I was like, maybe I can get to 900 by the end of the year. But I was like, by the end of the year, I would love to hit 1 million. And he texted me 2 weeks later. He goes, how the fuck were we just talking about how your 2025 goal was to hit 1 million and 2 weeks later you already did it?
How'd you do it?
I think what really pushed was I went to this local Philadelphia business that I saw on the news was being discriminated against. It was a really crazy day. It was a Wednesday, and the next day I left for Aspen. So I had a really busy day with meetings. I had an hour break and I open up my phone. I see I'm mentioned in this video 60 times. I'm like, great, I'm getting canceled. What happened? And sure enough, the video was actually just Fox News reporting on this woman who's opened up her business in Philadelphia and she was being discriminated against and was having a really horrible time. My heart broke for her because she was like, I'm from New Jersey. I've heard this is the city of brotherly love. I was so excited to start my business. My parents are 2 local business owners. My dad owned his business for 30 years. So my heart sank and I looked at where her her business was. It was down the street from where I was at the time. And I looked at my calendar. I messaged Tao Group, which is who I had a meeting with at 4. I said, I have to push my meeting till 5. And if we have to cancel, they're like, no, we can meet at 5. I said, great. I ran down the street. She closed at 3 o'clock. It was 2:15. And I made a video about it that, oh my God, it got 11 million views and I got 180,000 followers from one single video, which just shows at home, like, hey, all it takes is one. And then I was like, holy crap.
And it's a very like positive, impactful thing.
Yeah. And it was
that
really
came
like
from purity.
And I never expected that. Like of course, when you make a video, you want it to do well. But I was like, like, I just hope people go and support this woman's business. And then when that happened, someone reached out to me and was like, hey, across the street from that business is a smoothie bar. And she actually is about to close. Like her doors are about to close. And I went to her business and she had a GoFundMe and she was like, yeah, there's no way, I need to raise $70,000 or I'm going to have to close. And I said, let me try. And we're at 110,000.
Stop it.
Yep. And actually, Jason, tonight I'm going to Times Square because I raised the money through Linktree.
Yeah.
And Linktree put me up on a billboard in Times Square.
Come on. Let's
so actually,
go.
after this podcast, before we have our show tonight, I'm going to head down to Times Square and see myself on a freaking billboard.
So you're going to be at a Times Square billboard and you are saving a business all in one from just like pure intentions.
Yeah.
And you hit the million mark. Now, what is the million mark? Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Does it impact your rates? Does it impact you get paid more like significantly?
Yeah. So like obviously as you grow as a creator, your rates go up, with more and more eyes on your content. That's more and more eyes for advertising dollars, simply what we were talking about earlier with TikTok. So yeah, of course your rates go up, which is great. But I think for me, it's just, I didn't think I was ever going to hit that number. And I remember when TikTok was almost banned in January, feeling like, damn, I never even got to hit 1 million. Yeah. And now to say like I did it, it's just like incredible. And it's like, okay, now it's on the road to 2 million. Let's get to 2 million now.
On the road to 2 million.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. Back in the day, you're working in retail, 40,000, 60-some thousand. You then get the big bump to 73,000. Yeah. And you made a decision that you were going to peel off for the summer to just try content creation. How much money did you save up to give yourself that room to do it?
So I started in retail. I made $8.65 at Forever 21. That was my first job. I then wanted to work for Urban Outfitters Incorporated's corporate. So I was like, I need to work at their store first. So I made $8.25. I took a pay cut. I was like, I'm going to switch to Urban Outfitters. I worked the fitting room, loved it, best job ever. And sure enough, I got hired for their corporation, which owns Urban Outfitters, Free People, and Anthropologie. They're like, we know you love Urban, but we want you to work for Anthropologie. And I was like, what? An older woman's brand? Like, I know nothing about it. They're like, no, we think you'll do really well here. And they were right. So I made $41,000 a year at the corporation. I was a merchandise assistant. So I handled all the clothing samples. I was really on my feet. I loved the job. I would do the job today if I made $768,000 doing it. I was obsessed with it.
Wow.
But while I was working that job, I was like, okay, this is not going to pay my bills. I have $30K in student loans that I still need to pay off. I have parents that need to retire that I want to help support. How am I going to make more money? And then when I heard about TikTok, I just started posting on it. I was like, maybe eventually this will monetize. And sure enough, it did, obviously.
What year was that?
I started in 2021.
2021. When you went full time though, did you quit your job, obviously?
So to answer your question, so I left Anthropologie. I worked for GoPuff for a little bit. They saw that I was doing content. I thought I was going to get fired. They were like, no, let's bump you up to 73K. We'll move you on the social team.
Love it.
I got burnt out really quickly doing that. I was like, damn, like I'm trying to make videos for them. I'm making videos for myself. I also really just want to make videos for myself. I had saved up I got my first few brand deals that were like $2,000 to $3,000 each. And I was like, holy crap, like I can save all this money because I have GoPuff for my actual like funds. And now I have this like side hustle where I'm making like an extra $3,000 a month. Like that's pretty major. So I'd made like probably 10 to 15K in brand deals that I had saved. It was just sitting in my savings account. And then I got my yearly bonus in April. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I called my mom and I thought she was going to tell me I was crazy. And she was like, I don't know anything about this business, Brandon, but she was like, if you're like hot right now, she was like, shouldn't you act on it now? Like you can go back to corporate if, at any point. And I was kind of like really over GoPuff at that point in general. Like I would have gone back to Anthropologie if anything. I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, let's take the summer off and let's try it. That summer, I made double my GoPuff salary in brand deals.
That summer in brand deals. Okay. And what year was that?
2022.
So in 2022, fast forward to 2025, we're here today, but 2022, how much did you make in content creation?
Probably like 150,000.
Okay, about 150,000.
Which was crazy.
Which is crazy because you're making triple or double what you were doing. Now, it's from a timing perspective.
Yeah.
I heard in one podcast, you said you were working about 40 to 60 hours in the fashion retail space.
Yeah.
How many hours do you think you're working a week in content creation?
Every second I breathe.
Okay, so 24/7.
24/7.
It doesn't stop.
Doesn't stop.
Okay, so you make the 150K. Now, give me the breakdown that year, 2022. What is that breakdown of that coming from? And I'll get into another question.
I would say 130,000 of that came from content creation because honestly, maybe even more.
Brand deals, affiliate links.
Yep, majority brand deals at that point, like almost all brand deals, I would say. Yeah, because I quit GoPuff in April, so I got like a third of what my yearly salary was. So yeah, I would say at least 120, maybe even 130 came from content creation that year.
And how many followers did you have at that point?
I ended that year with, I think, 400,000 followers.
So I think that's a good indicator. You go into 2023 and you have about 400,000 followers. And on TikTok, how many on Instagram at this point?
Oh, none. Like 20K, like 15K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then how much in 2023 did you make?
Probably like 300,000.
300,000 bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
a rough.
That's a gross amount, right?
Yeah. This is pre-management fees. This is pre-taxes. Like that's like, you know, all the bottom number, and then you cut backwards after that, which we talked about on Vivs. Yeah,
of course.
So I'm not seeing $300,000 go in my bank. No,
right? You got, because at this point you got your management fees around 20%.
20%. Yep, and then
taxes.
Then taxes. Yeah.
Okay, and then you got your
expenses. Yeah.
Then 2024 becomes a marquee year for you. 768,000.
Yeah.
And then break down the structure of what you bring home.
Yeah. So I got this wrong on Vivs, but first 20% of that goes to management. You never see that money. It never goes in your account, never anything, never saw it. So we're down to like what, 550 or something. From that 550, you work with your accountant, you write out your expenses. I paid actually monthly taxes so that when April comes around this time of year, it's not like a shock to the system. But yeah, I paid monthly and quarterly taxes. I file as an S Corp, and yeah, he handled all of that stuff. This year, actually, the business is so big that I actually hired a business manager that's something I really recommend for someone who's like making a lot of money like that, especially in a field like this. And that's great because him I meet with bi-weekly. We go over what I'm spending, what cards need to be used, because I have the business card and then my personal card. That is way more like buttoned up investment strategy. You can get half service or full service. Full service, they will legit like pay your bills for you, like on auto pay. Like you never have to stress like, oh, did I miss a credit card payment? Like your business manager will take care
What do you
of
have to pay a business manager?
I can't share that.
Okay. Is it a percentage or is it
No, it's just a flat rate. Yeah,
okay,
it's a flat rate. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this year, 2025, you're outperforming 700,000 in 2024?
I think so. Yeah.
I think you're in a good spot.
I think, you know, if the goal was to hit 1 million followers, the goal for this year is to hit $1 million.
And are you on your way to do it?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. I think that is unbelievable. Think about like how far you've come doing what you do now. How much I wonder though is when you think about your earnings, there's brand deals, right? There's affiliate links. There is whatever else that, you know, if you have your own businesses, you can obviously earn from that. And then there's the creator fund from a TikToker. 1.1 million followers. What does the creator fund pay you?
On average, before all of this, I was getting like $3,000 a month, which is amazing. Recently, it's been trending up to like $5,000 a month, which is great. And what people don't realize about TikTok is like, I just get money from the creator fund. I see creators that really use TikTok Shop and they're making like $10,000 to $15,000 a month on TikTok Shop, which is crazy. Like if you interview like a very lifestyle creator, like a beautiful blonde, like an acquired style, she probably makes a killing off affiliate links. Like the girls that follow her want to know what she's using for hair, makeup, clothes. That's not my platform. I'm an entertainment-based creator. So sure, do I get the occasional, hey, where's your shirt from? And maybe sometimes they'll buy it. Yeah. But majority of my income is brand partnerships because that's what pays me. I'm not a product pusher. I'm not like a linker. Do I do it here and there? Absolutely. But that's never going to be like the bread and butter of my business. It's not really like what I'm more entertainment comedy focused.
Why is it hard? So 1.1 million followers on TikTok, 300,000, around 300,000 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to convert from TikTok to Instagram?
I think the strategy, this was my issue. So it's actually so funny. So I remember I went to film Project Verified in March of 2023. I think I had 22,000 followers on Instagram. And I was just trying to be like every other Instagram bitch, like just pictures that were aesthetic pleasing. And I just had to have a hard talk with myself. I was like, Brandon, that is not who you are. Like, I know you like posting a
Back
nice,
to high
pretty
school,
photo.
Brandon.
Yeah. I was like, but you are funny. Stop posting fucking pictures and just repurpose your content that you've already made onto Instagram Reels. Stop being difficult with yourself. Sure enough, I started that week posting Monday through Friday a reel every single day. And now I'm up to 300,000 followers and it's insane. To your point as to why it's so delayed, I think because TikTok is a video-centric platform that was made for that. Instagram has been around for years and it did start as a photo app. And now I think a lot of people are still like, I've seen a lot of people now start to love Reels, but for a while people were like, Instagram Reels? No. That's why it took me so long as a creator to even hop on it. And, you know, some people do like a killing on Threads and stuff. Like, you can't have every platform. You have to pick and choose like what is for you. But yeah, no, I think that is why it's harder to convert. I think it's just a totally different, a bit of an older audience. I think it's a photo app first.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where eventually, and I think you already might be able to do this, you're going to open Instagram and it's going to automatically open to Reels. And I think people are going to freak the fuck out when that happens. But until that happens, it's a photo first app.
Yeah.
And I think it's harder to grow with just photos.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
In Threads, I think last month, I think I made like $3,000 or $4,000 from the Creator Fund on Threads.
There's what? Creator Fund on Threads?
There's a Creator Fund, and there was a bonus program.
Okay, see, so I need to be on Threads.
You need to be on Threads.
I need to be on Threads.
And think about how quick your ideas come. You don't have to film. You just have to type it.
And I think that's what's so interesting. So it's like, we look at a salary of $768,000. I'm at the point in my career now where I'm like, okay, but do I need to put 70,000 of that towards an assistant who can help me then post on Threads, post on Snapchat? And then I'm paying her $70K, but what if she's able to make me a few $100,000 off of other platforms that I'm too spread thin right now to manage? So those are more of the conversations I'm having now as a business person. It's like, okay, how do I sustain the business? Always the most important thing. How do I sustain? How do I grow? And how can we get creative with growth? Because now the following is there. It's great. Like, you know, of course, I'm always want to grow my platform, but I'm very happy with my platform size. Now it's like, how do I actually grow that dollar amount? And it's having those conversations of, do I invest in this? Do I invest in that? So I think that's kind of like the interesting part of it all.
It's interesting. So Nick Viall just sold his podcast for 8 figures. Yeah. So that's 10 million plus, right?
Wow.
And people ask me like, what do you think? Give me the business breakdown, Jason.
Yeah.
Right? My business breakdown is unbelievable subject. Everybody wants to know the gossip of any breakup. He's really good at breaking down his perspective and giving opinion, irregardless of what people think.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things he's done so well is reinvest into the company. So it's an 8-figure business.
Yeah.
And I would assume he is spending millions of dollars on his business because he's reinvesting in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing creators are going to have to do in a big way.
Yeah. I also think like, this is something I learned early on too, and I was so happy. I remember the first time I made some kind of video. I remember I made a video in like probably January of 2022 where I was like, hey, I made $10,000 in content creation this month. And I explained my strategy, and someone so politely said, it would be really nice to talk about how privilege also plays a part in this. And it's so true. I mean, at the end of the day, TikTok has been researched. The algorithm favors white creators. When I started this conversation on Viv's podcast, there was a lot of conversation that was like, hey, this is great, but like Black creators aren't making this amount of money. And that's why, to me, salary transparency is so important.
Yes.
Because we don't live in an ideal and just world where everybody who's doing the same thing gets treated the same. And I want to open those conversations so that, you know, I remember Markel Washington stitched my video. I'm like, Markel is making less money than me. He's so entertaining. He's so talented. He has 10 million followers. That's not okay.
Yeah.
So it's hard now to have these types of conversations. It's impossible to not acknowledge that, hey, like at the end of the day, I'm a white man, and that is going to open doors for me that it shouldn't, but it unfortunately does. And I hope as we get more progressive as a society, that's not a thing anymore, you know, but you know, we're still in the year of 2025 and we've only gone so much, and I won't get political, but we have a crazy president. So things are just crazy, you know? So I really think, you know, also speaking about this stuff, it's so strategy's there. Talent is there. I will never discredit myself from any of the hard work. You can't take away my work ethic, my strategy, my creativity. But of course, at the end of the day, I'm still a white man that grew up in a lower middle class family that had a cell phone. who some people don't have a phone to even be able to create that. So I always like to kind of also talk about that as well.
No, I think it's so important. Your transparency is going to make an impact. It already has, and that will change the way hopefully brands think when they're going out for casting,
For sure.
and how they're paying. And keep doing what you're doing. And
Yeah.
those are things we want to do on our podcast. And do not stop, because
Thanks,
everything
Jason.
you're saying is bang on, and it's so important. And the theme of this whole podcast is it's the shit we don't talk about and we weren't taught in school. And these are the things that you got to talk about, like no matter what. I do have a question for you about sustainability, like in this space. Is that, I mean, is that a worry to, like, okay, TikTok almost shuts off the other. We still don't know in April. I have friends that work at TikTok. We don't know what's going to happen in April. What do you think about sustainability in this career? And like, how do you manage you have big income? How do you manage money not knowing what's coming? Like, what's your take on that?
So definitely saving is something I've always, and I think that I got from like as a kid who grew up lower middle class, like we were the type of family, I talked about this on Viv's podcast. If the air conditioner broke in the house and it was $10,000 to replace it, the next 3 months were going to be super difficult for us. Like we were going to be living very paycheck to paycheck. Hey guys, no eating out this week. Like this is what we have. This is what we are. And I remembered as a kid being like, I never want to live like this again as an adult. I want to be able to say, hey, the air conditioning broke. It sucks. I have to pay $10,000, but I don't want to, and that's a privileged life. Both of that is privilege. Like to even have air conditioning is privilege.
Sure.
But I remember thinking like, if I ever come into a lot of money, I want to save it. And recently it's funny, I've definitely been buying some designer items, but for the majority of my stuff, I save money. And I want to do that because one, the platform volatility is obviously, you never know what's going to happen. And two, the internet can turn on you at any point. You have to take everything with the parasocial relationships with a grain of salt, because it's like these people who are so loving and love you and support you and adore you know just as much about you as the people who absolutely hate you. They don't, which is really nothing at all. You see 2 minutes of my life on TikTok every day. You don't see the 24 hours a day that I'm working, thinking. You don't know my intimate relationships. You don't know me. You know what I choose to share and show you, which for me happens to be very authentically me. But what if one day people say, hey, he's not funny anymore, or we don't like this anymore, or another person who's similar to me knocks it out of the park, but they're 10 years younger and they're more creative and they're more strategic. You never know. So I, for that reason, want to save all of my money, because you never know when you're going to, not have it anymore.
700 some thousand, 330 net income 2024. Of that 330, what do you think? How much do you think you saved?
300.
You saved majority of your money. That's
50,000 of that had to go to expenses like rent and stuff. But this year definitely a little bit different. I've definitely been more of a like, kind of how we talked about with Nick, like, okay, I need to invest back in the business.
Yeah.
And honestly, it sounds crazy for me. Like I've been on like a little designer shopping haul, but I was like, I'm going to these events and I look like shit. Like I had like in a funny way, like, but I was like, I don't want to like walk into a room and not look sophisticated anymore. Like I want to walk in and look very presentable. And if that means I want to, a little $4,000 handbag on me, I'm going to fucking do it. And, it's thinking about that, but also then thinking about like, do I want to put $70,000 into this to hire an assistant so that she can grow my Snapchat, my threads,
Sure.
So it's all about like kind of now this year, it's like, okay, you're making a lot of money, but how can you invest that in the right ways, but also save what you need to save? Because for me, my dream has always been to buy a beach house at the Jersey Shore.
I love it. I've heard that, right?
So realistically, I probably could have done it this year, but I'm frugal and I'm like, no, I want to wait till next year. If I can do this for one more year, I want to buy that house and not be like, okay, I bought the house and now I'm broke. I want to be able to buy that house and be like, okay, I could buy another house.
You will buy that house. Yeah. You'll make content around it and that'll go viral.
Yeah.
And that'll lead to the next house.
Oh, I hope
so. You talked a little bit about like the idea of like people turning on you. Was there ever a point you were almost canceled?
No. There's definitely been times where I've said stuff that hasn't been well received. I think we've all been in a position like that where, 1 to 2 days are a little rough. You get a video that gets mentioned, but no, I've never been, thank God. Yeah. I think that's everyone's biggest fear, like in this space, is like getting canceled. But there is like this like element of like being canceled. You have some like decision in that. Like you can choose to be canceled. You can choose to accept that fate, or you can try to, uncancel yourself, whether it's depends on what you're canceled for, but like apologizing, righting those wrongs and becoming a better person and just, developing and growing with it. I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I think that doesn't allow room for growth and change, which we all need as human beings.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody on the street who doesn't have a regret. And I'm sure if you asked every single person, hey, think of the worst thing you've ever done, would you care if we posted it online? I'm sure everyone would shit their pants, like, so in this career, you just take that risk that, hey, you're in the public eye, someone could record you doing something or saying something, and it's a risk. It obviously is, I try to really keep an open mind about people and think, hey, like, that sucks that person did that, but maybe there's more to the story. And, that's also a privileged way to look at it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. One thing I commend you for too is you're really good at defending yourself and speaking to like what you're thinking.
Yeah.
That's like one thing I like really struggle with, especially online. I'm like, I just don't even want to engage in drama, so I just won't even defend
It's
myself.
hard too because in this space, like, you're told to not speak up because it is true. You can easily put your foot in your mouth, and a traditional publicist will say, hey, don't say anything. Let us form the statement for you. That is something in my career that I will struggle with when it gets to that, because I don't like anyone speaking on my behalf ever. If I screw up, I want to be the one that says sorry. I don't want to read apology that's not written by me. That's not. No. But so many creators do it.
It's
so obvious.
Well, it's so obvious
tacky and it's obvious.
Yeah. I think you lose it.
A few weeks ago, I made this like really out of line, nasty video about another creator. I quickly took it down. I didn't even honestly probably like quote unquote need to make an apology video, but I felt icky about it. And I was just like, hey, like, I just had a diva moment. That wasn't me, and I'm really sorry. And it was really well received. Everyone's like, wow, we've never like, one, we didn't even know what happened. You took it down so quickly, but two, like, good on you. And I think it's like, we're human beings. You're gonna screw up. It's inevitable. Like, just own it and apologize for it. And I think the biggest part of an apology, what makes an apology, I learned this week 1 of therapy. An apology with no change is manipulation. An apology needs a call to action. I'm sorry for doing this, and this is what I'm going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. Or this is what I'm going to do again to right that wrong. This is what I'm going to do to be a better person. And then actually acting on that. That's an apology.
Wow, that's a power line right there.
Yeah.
And if that's a good line from your therapist, that would make a very good threat.
Best.
In fact, I might quote it from you and put it as a threat.
You can steal it, Jason. Make some money off threats. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think it's great. I love it. I want to talk to you about this. Tonight, we are going to see The Last 5 Years starring Nick Jonas, Adrienne Warren. So excited about that. Let's talk about the Tonys. Think about the Tonys. You win the big award. I want you to give me, 2025, you're going to break $1 million this year. That's the goal. That's the dream. The home's coming. 2024, $750,000. In 2024, what was your Tony deal? Walk me through like what it was and how much. Give me the scoop.
So the Tony deal, I think it really depends on like what you view as like a win. Like financials are different. Like financially, my biggest deal was with Google in 2024. Okay. Huge deal. But my Tony deal, which
what does huge deal mean?
Like
100 grand, 40 grand, 10 grand, 3 grand?
Like for me, like if I'm getting like 40 to 50K, that's a Tony.
And that would be like a couple TikToks? One TikTok.
I can't say now. I can't say.
Okay.
But yeah, at the time, like it was probably a couple TikToks for 40 to 50K. Yeah.
It's changed now.
Yeah, it's changed now a little bit. But no, for me, the Tony deal of 2024 was, I'd said one of my goals was I always wanted a really fun collaboration where I was like, had a menu item of some sort. So Just Salad came to me and they were like, hey, we're doing a summer collaboration, a menu with Poppy, and we want you to be the face of it. And it was everything that I ever wanted. It was a photo shoot. We had a launch dinner with influencers. I was here in New York for 3 weeks doing all of the behind the scenes about it. I was super involved creatively in the process of the wardrobe, what we were going to do. And that was the Tony deal for me. I was like, that was like one of my biggest goals for 2024. I was like, I really want a brand collab that's more than me just advertising a product. It's like, I'm very involved in it. And that's how I want to do most of my collabs now. Like I want to be like my dream this year, 2025, I want to do a campaign with Boys Lie. Okay. I'm obsessed with their brand. The two girls are from Philly and we've been talking and I'm like, any chance that you get, like, please keep me in mind, whether it's a Pride campaign or it doesn't even need to be Pride. Like, let's freaking do something together. So that's the goal for this year. We can stitch this if it happens.
Okay, I love it. We're going to stitch it. I want to ask you this question. Jim Carrey, he put a check in his wallet. He wrote it out for $10 million, moved to LA and said, 5 years, I will make $10 million of income off acting. It was on year 4.5, Dumb and Dumber hit. That's when he hit his $10 million. He showed the check. It was beat up. It was disheveled. It was everything. If we put that check in your wallet, what dollar amount are you writing and when do you want to make it by? What's the dream? Manifest it. We'll
Can
stitch
I be
this.
corny?
Yes.
Instead of a check, show me a picture with my parents smiling on the beach on the porch
It makes me want to cry.
Yeah, that's for me. Like, listen, money is great, but like that makes me smile to see like two people that worked blood, sweat, and tears and, you know, never saw the kind of finances that I'm making. And if I can make their last 20, 30 years on this earth I'm getting emotional, like the most perfect years, like that is worth and 10 times more than any dollar amount. So show me that picture of my parents smiling on the Jersey Shore beach. And you know what? Put me in the middle of that. And maybe like a cute little dog.
That's so sweet. All right, let's go. I want you to put that picture in your wallet.
Yes.
It's going to happen. I can't wait for it does. And when it does, we're going to stitch that right there. Talk to me about this. One thing you overspend on, you overspend on, unless you go completely broke, you'll keep spending on it. What is it?
I mean, definitely overspend on like clothes. I have a little bit of a designer addiction right now.
Like those shoes. How much are those shoes?
These I actually got secondhand, $800.
Those are sick. What brand are those?
These are Louis Vuittons, but I should have gotten them treated. That's really awful. But no, I got those secondhand, which was great.
Wait, I have a dumb question. What does that even mean, getting them treated?
So see how these are like cowhide? Yeah. So I could have, if I was smart, I would take these to someone to have them what's called Scotch guarded. So they spray it so that way it's harder for things to like stick, stain, you know, get this like so that the red soles don't do what they're freaking doing.
Okay.
This was like a thrift find, but yeah, I should take better care of these. Okay. But I definitely overspent on clothes. I think, the whole, I would love your take on this, the whole renting versus homeowner type of thing. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, dude, you're spending so much on rent, which I'm really not. Like I live in Philly, my rent's $2,100. It would be $6,200 to have half the size apartment if I lived in New York, which is why I stay Philly true to the end of the roots. But yeah, I would say I overspend on clothes. I definitely overspend on going out to eat. I don't drive, so I overspend on Ubers, but like, that's probably it.
Okay, so I want you to know this. In 1970 and 1990, price to income ratio, the price of a home versus the household income was around 2 times, right? So the home that they owned was valued at about 2 times the income of the actual family that lived there. Right now, it's around 6 to 7 times. So buying a house right now is, especially as a first-time home buyer, is a big question mark because there's just the price is so crazy. Also, you have insane volatility right now. Yeah. I mean, with what's happening in the market and tariffs and the cost of lumber and the cost of labor and everything else, we don't know what the hell is going to happen with home prices. Now, historically, home prices always rise. So I would tell you, there's, if you try and time it perfectly, you'll never get in. I would probably wait right now. You're spending 3% of your income, and that is valued at $1 million this year. You're spending 3% of your income on housing. Yeah, that is insane.
You're right. That's really not bad.
Yeah. So
when you put it like that, Jason,
think about how much money you can save because you're only spending 2.5% of your income on money or on housing. Now, most people, I would have to look at the averages to get it right, and in the recap, I'll tell you. But I would say it's anywhere from like 20 to 30%. You're spending literally like literally 10% of what most people are spending. That's amazing.
So Jason, does this logic work tonight when I go to the Prada store and a bag is like $4,000? Do I just say like this is 0.04% of my income? Like
it could. Well,
I'm gonna call you every time I have I'm gonna say, Jason, validate me.
Can you approve me right now?
Tell me I should buy this.
What it does do though is because you're only spending 2.5% of your total income, assuming it's $1 million gross on your actual housing, it gives you much more cushion to go do things like that. Yeah, you go spend the $4K on that.
For me, I'm a big advocate. I know this is like the last question you ask, so I don't want to like spoil it. But one of my rules is convenience is worth money all the time. Okay. And for me, the convenience of my sink getting fucked up, and I call the front desk and say send maintenance up.
Invaluable.
In fucking valuable. I've seen my friends who are homeowners, that could cost them an arm and a leg, cost them 2 months rent. And it could cost them 2 weeks of stress because, hey, the plumber can't come today, or hey, this is not the quote that we agreed on. Oh my God, I just watched my parents get their roof fixed. I was like, I never want to have a fucking roof. Fuck it. I'll live in a box. I'll live in a box and it can rain on me every fucking day. I'm not dealing with that shit. I don't want a roof. I don't need a roof over my head.
I don't need a roof.
Yeah, like it's insane. So like for me, that convenience, like I spent this, like this was crazy. I went to Miami last week.
How much you spend out there?
So
cocktails, $50.
So I did something totally different. It's Miami Music Week. Most traffic you'll ever see in a city. Like it's just insane. And it's so hard in Miami when you're at a place where it's like, especially during that week, promoters, and it's very exclusive. You know, you might have a plan of going to this restaurant and this club. You get there, you can't get into either. And then you have to call another car. I said, I'm not dealing with that. I'm paying $4,000. And for the 3.5 days that I'm there, I'm hiring a driver.
Wow.
That driver picked me up at the airport. He sat at every single establishment we were at. Beautiful Escalade. I didn't even feel bad about it. I was like, holy fuck, this is the best money I've ever spent. Ubers would have been like $180 surcharged. I probably would have honestly ended up breaking close to even with how much I was spending on
Uber.
And I was staying in North Beach, which is far from South Beach and Brickell in Miami Music Week traffic. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. And my friends looked at me and they were like, Bran, like we loved the whole weekend, but we loved that car service that you got. The driver was amazing. He was like, if you ever needed a driver in any other city. Was that a ridiculous luxury cost for a 3-day vacation? Abso-fucking-lutely. And I will not be doing that on every trip.
Sure.
But for that trip, it was a celebratory trip. And I was like, I got everything else at a really great deal. I was like, I'm going to splurge on that. And the convenience of every time I wanted to leave a place, him just sitting there, opening the door for me. You want an ice cold water? Hell fucking yeah, I do. Hell fucking yeah. Get me in.
The other thing too is when you get that convenience and you feel that convenience, you're like, I'm going to work harder so that I can have that convenience whenever I want it.
That's the thirst. Like I feel like everyone, like obviously I have to hire an assistant. My dream is to have a driver. I literally never want to drive.
Honestly?
I want to just sit in the back of a car. I had a brand in LA fly me out and they hired the most bougie driving service I've ever had. He goes, what do you want to watch? I'm like, what do you mean? He pulls out this little TV. I was like, I'm behind on White Lotus. He goes, I have White Lotus. I'm sitting in this car. Little old me who used to drive in my mom's Windstar with stained seats and a window that didn't go down. I'm sitting in a Cadillac watching White Lotus on the 101. And I'm like, this is fucking nuts, Brandon.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Honestly, this isn't even an episode of Trading Secrets. This is an episode of manifestation. There's so many things that you've manifested. I can't wait for them to come to reality because we are going to stitch the living shit out of them. I only got 2 more questions for you. What I got for you is for people that are back there. They're trying to post. They're hearing you. They're inspired. You know, Corporate Natalie came on here and inspired you. You're going to inspire so many people to listen to this.
Yeah.
How many times do they have to post? What's your formula? How many days, from a week perspective, are you making sure you get certain amount of videos? Like what is successful in a week of content creation from output look from brands?
Yeah. So I post twice a day on TikTok.
Always.
And then Monday.
What times?
5 p.m. one video, usually then one evening video, like anywhere between 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
5 p.m. people get off work, always do work. But it's not to say your morning posts are going to flop. Also, everyone lives at different time zones. But traditionally, one at 5 p.m., then one at like 7 or 8 at night. On Instagram Reels, I post Monday through Friday. I try to post one reel or grid post, like a static photo, every single day at 5 p.m. I don't post on Instagram on weekends. Like I'll post stories, but typically I don't find my posts on Instagram do well on the weekends. I think people are just not on their phone as much. So yeah.
Do you care about engagement?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course I care about it.
So you're like, if one post flops, you're just like, whatever, just keep going.
I mean, if it's a post I work really hard on and I think it's going to do amazing, it sucks when it flops. It's just like anything in business. Like when you work hard on a project and you don't get recognized for it in corporate, like, and then you like barely try on something and everyone's like, great job, Brandon. It's the same thing with videos. Like when it takes 5 seconds to make a video and it gets like 8 million views. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I put my blood, sweat, and tears into like a talking story time video and it shits the bed. I'm like, all right, everyone fucking hates me. But no, yeah, engagement's super important to me. But yeah, posting twice a day. But here's the thing, and I will always add this caveat. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're 1 week, you're like, hey, I am fucking going through it and I can only post once this week. I was hospitalized this past summer. I had a mental breakdown.
From work?
From a lot of things, work, personal life, childhood demons that I was not addressing, and just every exhaustion.
What does a breakdown mean? Like you just couldn't function?
I was hospitalized. I went to the hospital I was diagnosed with panic disorder. I was having panic attacks to the point where it was every single day. I went agoraphobic for a week and didn't leave my house. My resting heart rate was 122 beats per minute.
Oh my gosh.
I was like sat in the ER for 4 hours until they could drop my heart rate to a point where I was able to leave, and I was given the option to go to therapy 3 times a week or visit an outpatient clinic. So it was very aggressive. And for July, August, and September, I posted maybe 1 video, 2 videos a week, and it sustained my platform. But I thought my career was going to be done, and now look at me. I'm booming, but I wasn't going to take a break until I literally was hospitalized and needed to. So, you have to kind of gamble with that.
So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So,
I'm so glad.
Be consistent, try to grow your business, but put your mental health first, because this is a very taxing job on your mental health. I will say that. It sure is.
Let me tell you, especially as of late. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to wrap.
Okay.
I want you're the master. You're growing at a fast rate. You're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
I want you to break down for the people.
Yeah.
What is Jason Tartick on his social platforms? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? What do you think is good? Give me the master class brands of Jason. You're teaching me.
I think a lot of times I know a lot of people from the Bachelor franchise.
By the way, you can shred me right now.
You guys don't like to talk about what a lot of people want to know. I want to know, what the fuck are they feeding you while you live in that damn mansion?
Yeah.
I want to know, like, what I would love to see a transparency reality TV series, like, from you. I would love to see you talk about, and it doesn't need to be anything about your cast members or your seasons, but like, be like, this is my audition tape. Here's what I would recommend if you want to be on reality TV. You've done a great job of building out your own brand, but like, don't forget your roots, let's lean into it. Like, I want to hear like the little, like, I remember I'm a big fan of MTV The Challenge, and one of my favorite YouTube videos.
Went on that show.
I would love to see that shit. One of my favorite.
I could talk about my auditions.
Yeah, you could talk about your auditions. It's like, you could talk about, I'm sure MTV has reached out to you before. I'm sure other networks like the
Netflix
Traders.
just reached out.
Netflix, yeah. Like, I want to hear more. No one talks about that. And that's why
I think we're afraid.
We're afraid of it.
If I talk, then they're not going to.
Yeah, but like, that's not true. Look at me. I talk about TikTok and numbers. Brands are still calling me.
You talked about your income.
I talked about my income.
Viral everywhere.
So I want to see Jason talk more about that stuff. And also, it's like, just in general, from men, I want to see more mental health videos. Like you said just now, and I want to lean, if this was my podcast, to be like, what do you mean as of late it's been hard on you? I want to hear what's been hard on you. Like, genuinely, like, we live in a world where men do not like to show emotion or feelings, and all it does is cause chaos in the world. Like, tell me what's been going on. Like you said, you said vulnerability is relatability. Relate to us. Like, you're obviously a stud. You have a huge success. This is an amazing platform. You're a business guy, but like, what's going on in the heart, Jason? That's what I want to see from you.
All right, that's really good advice.
Okay,
I'm getting better at doing that stories. It's tougher with reels and TikToks, but I'm gonna do more of that. I'm gonna take your advice.
Okay,
we'll see how it goes.
And tell the story of how you broke your finger at the Super Bowl. We didn't even get into it.
Yeah, we didn't even get it. My finger is this way.
Holy shit, it was literally like this way. I'm like, dude, this is not good. You're like, you need a nurse? I'll take care of that. I'm still me.
I love it. Unbelievable.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I could talk to you about a million things for another hour, but we got to wrap. You got to go see your Times Square photo.
Yes.
We got to go see the last 5 years tonight. We got a Sunday fun day ahead of us. Before we go, we got to get your trading secret. So something that's special to you. Maybe something you would have told yourself as a kid. Financial advice, personal advice, life advice. It's one trading secret that can only come from your experience. What could you leave us with?
Yeah, it's a corny phrase, but it's not about where you are. It's about who you're with. And I think for me, part of the reason I'm so successful is I've had the same friends for 10 years. I've had an amazing family. It's always about the people. That's the people around you create the environment. You can be, and then I remember when I had my mental breakdown, I was in Montauk, New York. I was looking at the beach. It was the most beautiful place in the world, and I couldn't have been more unhappy. And then the first time I felt joy again was sitting on the couch with my best friends. We were watching The Hot Chick and eating Wendy's. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I wanted. Like, so just surround yourself with people that love you, uplift you, want to see you win, aren't scared to challenge you, aren't scared to tell you like constructive feedback, but really just raise the bar for you and help you stay, just help you be a better person. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think I always like to say, what is my trading secret that I learned from you?
Yeah.
And I think my trading secret is like, first and foremost, you got to put the time in to drop into yourself. And the second you're not pouring into your cup, it'll impact your business. It'll impact your mental health.
Yep.
And when you do, you might find areas of success you never even imagined. To me, like, that's a big one. And then the other one is just like, I think that the way that you just go about things and the speed at which you go about it, right? In this world, there's analysis paralysis. People overthink. They don't know what to say. They're scared to post. You see a business struggling because of discrimination. You say, fuck it. Like, this is my mission. I'm going there and I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
And if there's positive impact from that, great. But you're going there with the pure intention to do it, and you move quick.
Yes.
I could think of a million ideas.
Be on
but
your
if you don't
feet.
move, you're done. And the speed at which you move at the Super Bowl, the amount that you posted, like, you just, you think, you do, and you say, fuck it.
Yeah.
And you don't care. And people come at you, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it then.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put it out there.
Cheers to
This is
that.
me. I'm going to impact people. And I think one of the most beautiful things you said, because I've asked that Jim Carrey question a lot to people that I'm really interested in what their answer is. I don't ask it all the time. But like, I love that you're like, I don't want the check with the money. I want the picture. I want the picture with mom and dad, me and the dog in the middle with their dream house, because I've seen them struggle financially and I've seen them do well. But like, they put me on this planet and I'm doing big things and I'm going to give back to them.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Thanks,
and
Jake.
that will motivate you in ways that you can't expect. So thank you for being on this episode. Where can everyone find everything Bran?
Yeah, Bran_Flakes with 2 Z's on Instagram, Bran_Flakes on TikTok. Please listen to my podcast, Between Us Girlies. That's on YouTube, Spotify. We'll have to get you on there.
Yes.
And Apple. Yeah, those are my platforms.
Amazing. Well,
Thanks.
thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets. You
Thanks,
killed it.
Jason.
We can't wait to continue to follow along.
You're the best.
Woo!